How's it going, everybody? And welcome back to another edition of the Stupid Questions podcast. Today on the pod, we're going to be talking with Annamarie Strehlow, or Ann, as she likes to be called. She's a professional triathlete from the Wisconsin area, and she is now what I could call a good friend, relatively new to the sport. She's also a physical therapist with her own practice, and she has a good way of telling her story. So without further ado, I want to introduce you to Miss Ann Strehlow. Have you been on a podcast before?
Yeah.
Nice. How many have you done?
Oh, I don't know. A good number, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mostly around the topic of triathlon, I would assume, or
Yeah, pretty much
something?
like triathlon or my story and how I got into triathlon and
Nice.
stuff like that.
So you've done this before. So hopefully this one is a bit
Yeah.
different for you. We'll
Right.
try to keep it interesting. So first thing I need to understand, how do I pronounce your last name?
Strehlow.
Strehlow.
Strehlow. Yeah.
Okay. What is the etymology of said last
German.
name? It is German. Okay.
Yeah.
What generation do we have to go to get back to the motherland?
Maybe 3 or 4.
Okay.
But I am first generation Sicilian. My mom was born in Sicily.
Oh,
Good
really?
story.
Nice.
Yeah.
Do you speak Italian?
No, I wish.
Yeah. Have you been to Sicily?
Yes, I studied abroad my sophomore year of college,
Okay. Nice.
and I went to visit. I still have family in Sicily, so I went to go visit my family
Oh, cool.
about 3 times while I was there.
Nice.
And while I studied abroad, I learned Italian, and you're very immersed into the culture when you're studying abroad.
Sure.
And then I traveled to Sicily, which is it's a small island at the tip of the boot.
Mm-hmm.
And I tried to speak Italian to my cousins, and they're like, what the fuck is she saying? Like, they're looking at me like deer in the headlights because the dialect is so different.
Mm.
Yeah. And here I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to speak to them in Italian. Like, this is going to be so great.
Yeah.
But no, it ended up being like, find the cousin who spoke a little bit of English because she went to law school and have her translate for me while I stay with my cousins who speak 0 English.
Wow.
Yeah. There was a lot of like hand gestures, pointing, like trying to understand each other through body language and hands while I was staying with them. It was a good experience.
Yeah, Italians are pretty expressive with their hands, so hopefully some of that translated. My mom's side of the family is Italian. I forget which part, but it goes back 2 generations where everybody was living over there, but we kind of broke off from that side of the family because, believe it or not, my mother's grandfather, so my great-grandfather, was in the mob, and he threw my grandmother down the stairs when she was pregnant, and she's like, I think we're done. So since then, they broke up, and we haven't really kept contact much. So.
Wow.
Who knows? Yeah. Brash people the Italians can be, right?
And they're wild. Wild.
So when you were there, I'm curious really quick with your cousins, like how long were you specifically visiting with them? Like, because you were there for a year.
So we only had class until Thursdays. So I went from a Friday to Monday.
Okay.
And then I did that twice. And then when my sister and my mom came to visit me at the back end of my study abroad semester, we went for a full week.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you got to know them somewhat because of the language barrier?
What was so cool is like, even when I went there by myself the first time, and I had never met them ever. It was just like via phone call over Christmas. My mom would call and we'd all be around the phone and she'd speak to them in Sicilian and we'd all be like, oh my gosh, cool. Like our family's in Sicily. When I went there to see them in person by myself, I just like felt like I was a part of the family. Like there wasn't any awkwardness of like, I've never met you before. Like, I'm not really sure who you are. Yeah. It was just so beautiful.
Yeah.
Honestly.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Do you think you could ever move there?
Totally. If my husband would. Jeez.
Yeah.
He would never.
What does he do there in Wisconsin?
He's a civil engineer.
Okay.
So he designs roads and, pathways, sidewalks, and looks at water drainage and shit way over my head.
Well, I feel like you guys have a little overlap. You spend a lot of time on the roads and the paths, I would
There you
imagine.
go.
So
Yeah,
you guys
so
can,
he understands my complaints about the terrible roads in Wisconsin and what needs to be fixed. And
yeah, that's awesome.
yeah.
So, do you prefer Anna, right?
Anna, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Annamarie's the full name, correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay, good deal. Well,
Yeah.
first off, just want to say thank you so much for taking the time to come on the podcast. Really appreciate you. I know you have like a full-time job and you're a professional, correct?
I'm not full-time physical
Okay.
therapist any longer.
Oh,
And
so
we
this
could
is
get
yeah,
into that, but
yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
But thank you. Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm
Yeah,
excited.
yeah, for sure. Have you listened to any of the past
Yeah.
episodes? You have.
Yes.
Okay, so you know what's coming then.
Yeah, we're getting deep.
Yeah. All right. So here, first question: Who is Anna?
Who is Anna? I would say, other than I'm a sister, a wife, a daughter. I would say I'm very driven. I'm very faithful. I'm a physical therapist. I'm certainly an athlete and have been my whole life. Um, I guess those would be a few things.
Yeah.
I'm
What?
very empathetic. I love serving people and helping people get better and
Hmm.
reach their potential. And yeah,
Where does that
that's me.
desire? What is that desire from? You think to like help others? That altruistic. I want to help people be the best they can be and help them heal.
Yeah. Um, my mom was a nurse. She's no longer working as a nurse. She's retired. But I think growing up having and hearing her stories on like how she's impacted people at the hospital and she specifically worked with new moms and in like prenatal clinics and things of that nature. So I think hearing of her stories and how she helped people was an inspiration for me to like jump into the healthcare field
Hmm.
as I grew up. So I would definitely attribute those characteristics of me to my mom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did your dad do?
My dad, he's an accountant. He owns his own business of a staffing agency.
Okay.
So
Nice.
he's all numbers. He's a
Yeah.
numbers guy. Yeah.
Do you feel like you have any part of you that gravitates toward that kind of regimented, segmented, categorized way of life?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah.
How so?
I can be very anal structure orientated. I think many
Mm-hmm.
many triathletes and athletes can be uh that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you said you're a sister, older, younger?
I've been, I am the youngest of
Okay.
three.
Okay.
I have an older sister. She's 8 years older than me, and I have an older brother who's 7 years older. And then it was like, oops,
Yeah, I was
here's
gonna say, were
Anna.
you the oops kid?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. I like to think of myself as the blessed child, but
Yeah.
yeah. Yep.
How do
And
you?
then there was me. So there was quite a period of time growing up where I was alone in the house. Both my siblings were out of college. And
Hmm.
so I was kind of the only child for a little bit. But
Were
yeah.
you lonely during those periods?
Uh, Maybe to some degree. I don't ever remember thinking I was super lonely. I was a really big soccer player.
Hmm.
So I was constantly with my teammates, practice or traveling. We did a lot of traveling tournaments and things like that. So I think my team was really my family. So
Hmm.
even though I didn't have my siblings home all the time to pick on me and give me shit, call me a brat,
Yeah.
I certainly had my team. So
Yeah.
I'm thankful for that. Yeah.
Yeah. So with the siblings, so I'm the oldest of two younger
Okay.
sisters. The youngest one, younger than me, is 12 years, but you're not too far
Ooh,
from that. Like 8 years
yeah.
is quite the gap. So did you have because I remember like when I had my youngest sister or when we adopted or whatever, like I was, 13, 14, 15. She's like getting to the age where she's coming into my room, and I came in one day and she's got Sharpies and writing all over my walls and like that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. So there's like very much a generational like gap between the life experiences. So did you find it harder to like connect with your older siblings during those formative years?
Um, Not really, because I was trying to be them.
Mm.
Like I really looked up to them. Like any of my sister's clothes that she wore in high school, like I would try to pull off wearing. Like I
Oh, that's
remember she
funny.
had this like silky button down blue and white shirt that had like Madonna's face all over it. And I tried to like pull that off wearing that to school, and like, yeah, I would just bug her about trying to wear her things or do what she did. And yeah, like my first ever concert, she was 18, so I was around 10, and we have this huge music festival here called Summerfest. It's
Mm-hmm.
really wild. And one of the headliners was Destiny's Child.
Oh my.
So, and I don't even know why my mom approved this, but my mom approved my sister to
To
take me
take you.
downtown with her like 10 high school friends of 18, 17, 18. And my first concert was Destiny's Child. And I was like, yeah, this is cool. Like, I'm not 10.
Were you taller, shorter? Like,
I was totally the little
yeah.
sibling. Like,
Oh,
and
that's so
here there's
funny.
all these like underage drinkers, my sister, the sober driver, and then me, like,
That's so interesting.
yeah.
Did
So,
that influence your music taste as you got older?
heck yeah, I still love Beyonce.
Really?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah. So
without a doubt.
you still live in like the 90s era, like music artists?
I would say I don't necessarily like live there. I love all genres, but
Mm-hmm.
I'll definitely go back to Beyonce a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when did you first start to get in touch with your physical abilities? Because you consider yourself an athlete, so I imagine that
hmm
started relatively young.
Yeah, like I said, I've always been a soccer player. Like I grew up in the era of Christine Lilly and Mia Hamm, and them winning the World Cup uh in 1999. And Um, so I always wanted to be the best soccer player possible. Like my dream was to be under the lights playing like Mia Hamm on the US women's soccer team.
Mm.
Um, so my brother played soccer, my sister played soccer, like we were always outside playing. And I had private coaches. I played on the Olympic development team. Like we just went all in with soccer. And I feel like that's really where I found my passion for sports and uh, my competitiveness and all of that. I did play other sports, but like by probably like seventh grade, I was done with. I played softball and basketball and volleyball, and by then I was like, it's all about soccer.
Mm. Did you like think, oh, I'm gonna do this college, and then like were you pretty invested in that pathway? Like what happened?
Yeah, I was until like I got into talking to schools, and I was like, I don't know if I want to play D1. Like I had this fear about trying to play Division 1 and balance school.
Mm.
And then like the reality of could I actually play for the women's team? Like if I was good enough, I should have been recruited already kind of thing. And so then in starting talking to some schools and like visiting schools, I realized like, well, maybe I kind of want to play and pursue something in the healthcare field. And so that's kind of how my mindset shifted. And I ended up at the University of St. Thomas, which was Division 3 at the time. Now they're Division 1. And so I ended up there studying exercise phys.
Do you have any regrets for not trying the D1 soccer route right out of high school into college?
I don't think so. I
Really?
don't think so because St. Thomas was amazing. Like playing college sport is something I would highly recommend.
Yeah.
So many kids do because you start school with 20 plus friends. you're just immersed in this different culture, this different life. You learn about so many people right away, and you don't have this like extreme fear or vulnerability when you show up and you don't have that club or something, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you're trying to find your place, your people.
Yeah. So having soccer, and then like you're really pushed into the structure of learning how to balance sport and academics right away, which I think is brilliant. 'Cause obviously, you can take the wrong path in college real fast.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So, forgive me for not fully understanding, but when you went to St. Thomas, you were not playing anything, or you were playing soccer. You just
No, I played soccer there.
okay. You just didn't
Yeah.
want to go for like okay, I got you. The D1.
Yes, it was a D3 program.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see it grow from D3 to D2 and even D1 while you were there, or is that more of a recent?
No, it was like within the last 3 years. I still think they're actually ineligible for full D1 right now.
Okay.
Yeah, because you have to have that like 3-year wait period. There's some weird rule.
Oh, okay.
When you transfer from D3 to D1.
Yeah. Interesting. So why did you choose St. Thomas?
It was a really good sport school. Like there was a lot of intensity around sports. And it had this like small town kind of feel, but in the city.
Mm-hmm.
It really reminded me of Marquette here in Milwaukee, but Division III. And that's what I really loved about it. I also think the coach did a fabulous job recruiting me and just kind of selling me on the school. But I really liked that it was a private Catholic school. So there was a focus on faith and religion, and that it was like Minneapolis, St. Paul city feel, but you kind of felt protected because it's in this little bubble of St. Paul.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's why I chose St. Thomas.
Yeah. So most, I would say most, I don't know the actual statistic, but most college kids are not trying to consider faith and religion in their decision-making process for school. So that seems a little bit outside of the ordinary. Are you outside the ordinary in that way?
I would like to think I'm not, but I guess I am.
Yeah.
If you're putting it out there that way. Yeah, I mean, faith is a huge part of my life. I grew up going to a Catholic grade school, but I did go to a public high school. But regardless of going to a public school, I still incorporated faith in my life, and I went through all the sacraments, and I still practice my faith today. And so for me, deciding on a Catholic school, and it didn't have to be Catholic. Any type of Christianity, I think I would have been happy with, but having that was really important to me.
So for me, I'm asking this kind of because this is sort of around my experience, but I came to like around age 21, and I kind of asked the question, okay, why do I believe what I believe? Because I grew up in a fairly Christian, like spiritual mindset, religious upbringing. And that was like the time when I was like, okay, I think I should look into this and figure out why I believe what I believe. Did you have a transition moment or series or season in your life where it like really became your faith as you're talking about? Or was it have you always kind of been pretty bought into it?
I guess it's just kind of been a part of our life and our family. It was growing up and praying together and talking about God. And so it never was anything that I truly questioned, but maybe I would say that it's grown. My faith has grown in different ways as I've continued through different parts of my life, like high school into college. And I've learned the importance of continuing to have my faith as I've gone through different challenges through life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as you have had like these different seasons, what are some of the moments that like really stand out for you that show like, okay, this is why I had that faith. Like, it brought peace in this time. It brought comfort this time. It maybe provided structure during another time. Like, what is it about the faith that like those memories that have kind of stood out to you, you think?
I would say one big one, more recently was that I left my hospital job of 8 years. I worked at a hospital. Here's a level 1 trauma center called Freighter Hospital. And it was my first job outside of PT school. And I decided to leave to pursue my professional triathlon career. And I think leaning on my faith during that time was incredibly important, because making a change like that is very scary, and it can be very worrisome. And I feel like you can get into this, you can really perseverate on your limits and fears during times of change. But when you have faith, you feel a sense of comfort and a sense of guidance. And I think that truly is what helped me during that transition period to, really just have faith in this journey that I'm on right now.
Yeah, for sure. I have felt that. I've never gone through kind of the same, I guess, career jumps that you have. I've never really worked for anybody. I mean, I have sort of like as a contractor, but like my wife, so she's a nurse practitioner, and she finds a lot of security and just structure and kind of doing the 9 to 5 or whatever her specific time is. But yeah, those transfers can be huge, because I remember when she quit her hospital job, it was like a huge deal.
Right.
And then, yeah. So for you, I guess we'll come back to this point here in a little bit, but like, what was the first move that showed up in your life where you started to consider, maybe I want to do triathlon, like soccer and then triathlon?
Yeah. So I finished undergrad in 2013, and then I moved up to Duluth, Minnesota for PT school. I went to the College of St. Scholastica there.
Sounds cold.
Very, very. But in Duluth, there's not really a lot to do, which was great for graduate school because you could just, bury your head in books. But also they have some good breweries, so drink a lot. And then the other thing to do there is run. And Duluth has Grandma's Marathon, which is pretty famous. It's a marathon right along the lake. It's super flat, super fast. And I got into running with a bunch of other graduate students. And my goal was to do Grandma's Marathon. I had never done a marathon before. I had done like one half. And so in 2016, I did Grandma's to qualify for Boston, because that was my little goal. I told myself if I was going to do a marathon, I was going to qualify for Boston, do Boston, and then like get back to normal running.
Hang it up.
Yeah. So qualified for Boston, which was like incredibly challenging, but something I would so recommend anybody, any runner, put on their bucket list. It's amazing. It's like people for 26 miles, a total party. It's a hard course. You never know what the weather is going to bring. But anyway, so I did Boston, and then at that point I had graduated PT school. I moved back home to Milwaukee because my family is here. And I was like, all right, like I'm kind of done. And my dad is a cyclist. And so he was going to this cycling class, but it's where you bring like your road bike and you put it on it was a CompuTrainer at the time. If you remember CompuTrainers.
Yeah.
So I started going to this cycling class with him, and he had a coach, Heather, who is my current triathlon coach. She was a pro triathlete herself. And I started coaching with her to run another marathon because, of course, like once you do one and you tell yourself you're not going to do it again, that's just, it doesn't happen.
It's a matter of time.
Yeah, exactly. So we have a marathon here called Lakefront Marathon. It's very similar to Grandma's. And I thought, oh, I'm going to try and beat my Grandma's marathon time because Boston was just horrible. And we'll see what I could do. Well, I started coaching with Heather. And during that time, I got injured. And she was like, well, why don't you come to the pool with me and aqua jog? And as a PT, I was like, yeah, brilliant. I will do that. So I show up with this aqua jogger, which is basically like a diaper that you put around, you know, an aqua jog. And there are all these like super elite, ripped swimmers. And I was like, honestly embarrassed to be aqua jogging. And so I left the pool and I'm like, okay, Heather, like, can you teach me how to swim? Because I'm done with that. And she was like, yeah, like what I had done for swim, like up until then was like survive as a child. And I went to my community pool and like, I only made it to a certain level and then I couldn't dive. And so then that was it. Like that was my history of swimming. And so I don't think Heather knew what she was getting herself into, but she agreed to it. So I did some YouTubing trying to figure out how to swim and I started swimming and I used her old bike and jumped in a sprint triathlon and I won.
Wow.
And so she had this group of triathletes at the time here in Milwaukee that she was coaching and they were all going to Steelhead, Michigan for that 70.3, which is no longer. Sad. Very good race. Yeah. So they were like, well, you like won this sprint triathlon. Like you should come do this half Ironman. And honestly, Seth, like I had no clue what this would entail.
Yeah. Be like, sure.
And yeah, but I was like, all right, like whatever. That sounds great. So I kept using Heather's old bike and tried to figure out how to swim. And I ended up like second in my age group there to qualify for Worlds.
What kind of bike was this?
This was a BMC time machine.
Okay, so it was like a legit time trial bike.
Yes.
I was,
and I had it fit properly. Like we did it right. And so I qualified for 2019 Worlds, which was in Nice, and her whole group was like, oh my gosh, like you got to take your slot. You have to go. And like, keep in mind, I'm still this like very novice triathlete. And I was like, I don't think I'm going to go to Nice. Like, why would I go to Nice? I just graduated PT school. I hardly know what a half Ironman, like, I don't know what I just said. Like, this is wild. And so I distinctly remember like coming back from Michigan. I went to work on Monday and I called Heather at lunch and I was like, I think we made a huge mistake. Like I should have taken that slot. I didn't realize like it was kind of a big deal. Like we got to go to Nice.
Yeah.
And so she looked up the next qualifying race, which was then Chattanooga. And I went to Chattanooga and I won my age group by 45 seconds. So we went to Nice.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that
was
really
kind of like my just immersion into triathlon.
So you've just been good from the beginning. I mean, obviously swimming, we can't say like you had a great swimming background, but your running background, I assume, would help. Like did you run down the field typically in these two races?
I was center mid. So running. Yeah. I like running.
Yeah. What was your first qualifying Boston time? I'm just curious. Hey guys, sorry to interrupt really quick. Just wanted to share something. First of all, this is not a paid ad. However, if you've been watching and listening for a while, you'll know that I talk about Precision Fuel and Hydration or drink out of this bottle constantly. That is of my own money. I pay for all the products, the gels, the tablets, the bottles, all for myself. I reached out to them and asked if I could get some stuff to offer to our listeners for you guys, just as a way to say thank you for listening to the pod. So first off, if you want 15% off, you can use code in all caps, SETH-PFH for 15% off. So that's SETH-PFH for 15% off of all the products. Or you can just go to the link in the show notes that is visit.pfandh.com/Seth-Hill. Again, it's in the show notes. However, this is the big thing. If you guys want to book a free 20-minute call with their team to be able to get a strategy for how to revolutionize, really, if you guys are into this, how to revolutionize the way that you do your sports nutrition, specifically on the sodium and hydration front. This has been huge for me in the past couple of years. It's really helped me to perform better, and I think it can help you guys too. But this is them giving their time to you for free. So make sure to go check that out. The links are in the descriptions for the 20-minute call. That's visit.pfandh.com/Seth-Hill/calls. Anyway, check out the show notes. I'm sorry, I'll quit talking. And again, that code is Seth-PFH for 15% off. All right. Thank you guys so much. Again, this isn't a paid ad, but I had to share that with you guys. So I hope you enjoy it. Thank you. Back to the show.
316 at Grandma's.
And then the second one, what'd you do?
Grandma's was like a 3:30 something. Not great. And that's why I was like, I got to do Lakefront Marathon. I got to beat this 3:16. Yeah. But it wasn't good. It was like a 3:20. I don't know. I didn't beat it.
Yeah. So 2019 is when you did this first race. When did you graduate PT school?
2016.
Okay. So you were already working for 3 years.
To do Nice, yes. But Steelhead was like 2018.
Okay. 2018. So you've been working only what, one year?
I had only been working a year, yeah.
Okay. When did it first start entering your mind that like just the littlest of seeds, like maybe I could go try to do this professionally, and I don't know how that's going to work with being a PT. Like when did those start to
okay, so once I did Nice, which was just like having a world championship experience was incredible. And I think just Nice is really a magical place.
Yeah.
So when I finished that, I was like, all right, we got to do a full. Like that's how it goes. And so I wanted to do Madison, Ironman. I'm only an hour and a half from Madison. And Madison's a really popular Ironman. Mm-hmm. And so then COVID hit, and I just kind of trained through COVID. It was like my saving grace being in the hospital, because that was pretty rough during that time. And then leading into Ironman Wisconsin, I won USAT Nationals Olympic distance. And then that
I love how these are just kind of by the way things, like, oh, and then I won this. Oh, and then I did this.
Well, you asked why I made this decision.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I love the nonchalantness. It's very, it's good. It's humble. I like it.
I'm not good talking about that stuff.
You're doing great.
So I won nationals, and then that was 2021, and then I won 70.3 Blue Ridge, and those were like my 2 prep races for Wisconsin. And just like I did with Grandma's, I was like, all right, I'm doing Wisconsin and we're going to Kona. Like, I'm like taking this very seriously.
Yeah.
And I won Ironman Wisconsin.
I saw that one pinned on your Instagram, I believe.
I'm very proud of that one.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't really know what to expect. I went in with no expectations, just like, all right, eat a lot. Don't get in your head and work your ass off and see what happens.
Yeah.
So once I won Ironman Wisconsin, we were going to Kona, and like I had gotten my pro card by winning nationals. I thought, let's go. Like, this is awesome. I want to be a pro.
Yeah. And
I feel like there was also like always this small flame burning inside from when I was little, wanting to be like Mia Hamm. Like I wanted to be a pro athlete. Like there's just this drive in me that loves competition and loves trying to find our full potential through sport. And there's so much about sport that can be translated into life experiences and all of that. I have such a deep desire and passion for that. And I think that was also part of my drive as I kind of got in that season of winning a lot of races and then being like, I think I can go for it. And then Kona also went really well for me. I was third overall and second in my age group.
Wow.
With the fastest marathon time split for amateurs. And I think that just kind of solidified my decision. Like, let's do it. I think I can be competitive here, and we'll see what the journey brings. And so this will be my third year as a professional. And up until this last August, I was pretty much full-time working as a PT and trying to compete in the pro field. And then more recently, we took the step back. So I'm excited to see what happens this season.
Yeah, for sure. Like, did it take a lot of coaxing or encouragement from those in your support network to jump out of working full time to taking this on full time?
Honestly, it's more me. It's always been me, right? Like, I love what I do as a physical therapist, and now I have my own practice. Like, I don't want to let that go. I find such purpose in serving others, and I love learning about people and helping them to reach their potential and heal, no matter what they're going through. So that is certainly still a big part of my life. And I think, like, just as you said with your wife, like, there is such security in having a 9 to 5. And also just the routine of having patients, seeing patients, like, knowing that I have that it was more me that had a difficult time making the decision to leave, and accepting that, anything good is going to come with a lot of risk. And sometimes you just have to jump in and do it.
Yeah. So now you've jumped in, you've done it. Have you had any second guesses at all?
No.
Yeah,
I think if I still were at the hospital, I would be having regrets that I had stayed.
Yeah.
Really?
Hospital, my wife obviously worked at the hospital. I've had other friends and family work at hospitals just from a lot of people being in the medical field. And there are very few instances where people are like, oh, I love that. I just want to go back to that. Like, my dad was a hospital nurse for so many years too. And it was it was always super stressful.
It is. And you have to see a lot of people. You have to interact with so many people. And, like, I think one of the biggest lessons I learned from leaving the hospital is that stress is stress. And what I mean by that is, like, interacting and talking with 10 people a day is stress to the nervous system. And that is the same exact stress as if you were to go run. And I didn't realize how much of an impact that was having on my overall training, because for me, it was normal, right? Like, get your shit done before you go to work, do your thing, come back, do your second workout, and go to bed. Like, that was very routine for me. And so I couldn't see the idea of that work stress is training. Like, I'm on my feet, you know what I mean? And I'm talking with people. And so that's probably one of the biggest things really I've learned since leaving.
Yeah. The mental processing takes so much physically. Like, it really can take out of, because if you don't have that mental bandwidth then to, like, apply to whatever other area of your life, relationships, training, whatever, like, it's crazy how much that can affect us.
Right. Yeah, big time.
So what do you do to stay on top of, like, mental performance? Because you have your own practice. You're not necessarily doing it full time, but that still takes energy. You're in a marriage relationship, so that takes energy and focus.
Right.
And then now you're a professional triathlete and everything that entails. What do you do, I guess, once you find, maybe I'm getting a little bit off here? Like, what do you do practically to get back on to having things be as healthy as possible?
Yeah. So one thing that I did in 2022 is I brought Siri Lindley on my team. And Siri Lindley is, I would call her like my mindset coach. So I work with her on strategies and ways to continue to develop my mindset and work kind of that piece of training. Because really, I believe it's a whole nother discipline that's very, very important. So, she's taught me to really stay present and focus on what I can control, and focus on my beliefs, versus my limitations, because we can often get into that cycle of limiting beliefs. So on a daily, I have a gratitude practice that really kind of centers me, where I wake up and I think about the 3 things that I'm grateful for. And sometimes they're as simple as like, I'm very thankful for my health, because as a professional athlete, I mean, if you don't have your health, you can't do anything, right? So she has taught me to really stay diligent on that practice of gratitude, and I think it's really kind of shaped my professional career thus far. It's made a big impact on me.
Yeah, gratitude is such a huge thing. I just have to tell you this story really quick, and for those who've already heard it on the podcast, sorry, but you're going to hear it again. So my wife, like our first and second year marriage, like I was saying, she was in the hospital and she was struggling like super bad, really depressed. Just for context for me, like I grew up with a dad who was really depressed, and he took his life when I was 16. Okay. So like I have all this baggage that was there for like when people want to give up on life. And I really didn't understand it. I always kind of prided myself in like, oh, I'm gonna pick myself up type of situation. So my wife was quitting her job, and we got her into some counseling because it was pretty bad. Like she was really struggling. And she came home one day with this Post-it note, and put it on like the cabinet, and it said like, happiness is a choice. And I remember looking at this Post-it note for like a while and being like, that is so dumb. Like not really sad. I didn't say that loud to her, but I really thought in my heart, like, that is so dumb. Of course it's a choice. Like I always choose that, rah, 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 Team Seth, just building myself up inside. Right. So fast forward, literally we've been married almost 8 years now. She's doing way better. And to be honest, since we like moved to California, like I've been struggling a little bit more, just because it's a little bit harder to make friends. We're 32. We're in a little bit more rural of Northern California. She has a work and job to connect with. And I'm kind of like left to my own devices to really reach out to people to try to find that friend group. So anyway, last week, a couple of days, I was just feeling so bad, like not motivated to train, which is way unlike me, stressed for like work stuff behind the scenes. Anyway, I remember that Post-it note, and on the third day of feeling like really down, this is on Wednesday, I went out for a morning run, barely got out the door. I started running, and I was like, what? I thought of that Post-it note. I was like, what? Happiness is a choice. And I found a little inspiration in it, and I was like, I'm just going to name off things I'm thankful for and grateful for until I start to feel hopefully something. And by that hour run was done, like my outlook on life was totally different. I had so many things I was thankful for. And all of that to say, first of all, whoever thinks that they can just have the best attitude all the time and thinks that they maybe don't need to listen to other people's, I don't know, motivational lessons that maybe one day it wouldn't be applicable to their life, I was wrong. So you could be wrong. But gratitude is such an amazing thing, because it's like, I wish that I could see what's going on neurochemically whenever you start to say like, I'm grateful and thankful for things, because it really does change your mindset. And really, like almost visually, there's probably something going on different, because it's like the world seems like a little bit of a brighter place. So yeah, gratitude.
And that's why I start my day with gratitude, because when you begin your day with gratitude, you then see the gifts of life throughout your day. Like when you wake up, and if you pick up your phone and the first thing you do is look on Instagram, and then you start comparing what you don't have, right? Or what things you haven't accomplished yet, because you see the greatness of what other people post. You're starting your day with these limiting beliefs, but when you start your day with gratitude, you see gratitude more and more. And I think that is where we then can continue to find our potential and our purpose in life, right? Like we're here to love and serve one another. And then when you can see gratitude through that, it's huge. It's a game changer.
100%. So you said something interesting to me, because I've been spending a lot of time thinking about this recently, but you said limiting beliefs, like you have these limiting beliefs. I think a lot of us have like these inner critical voices that we end up speaking to ourselves when you view Instagram, whatever, when you view anything outside of your own, like comparison is the thief of joy or however that phrase goes. But
it is.
But so for you, I have a question. What is your greatest critic inner voice say to you that you'd have to combat?
It's probably like nothing specific, but it's probably in general having doubts. And I think doubting is a very funny thing because if we focus on any of our doubts, that's where we can get into this path of limiting beliefs. But if we look at it more of just like wins and opportunities to learn, it's a lot better. Like and what I'm getting at is you just change the meaning of the words. And I've found that through working with Siri to be like, it has had such a impact on my life, is just giving thoughts that we have a different meaning. And by focusing on those words, changing the words, you really change your mindset. So I didn't directly answer your question.
No, that's fair.
But that's kind of what I would say is really when you change the meaning of what you focus on and then you focus on the beliefs that you want to believe for yourself, that's when you can really live your best life.
When you say focus on those things, this may be getting a little too granular, but like when you want to focus on a specific thing, what does that look like? Do you like try to think about that phrase or that new definition, or like, you know, for being grateful for something, you're essentially meditating on the idea that like, well, this thing or this person or this experience, I am grateful for it and here's why. So for those other things, is it similar? Like you just spend time thinking about it? Do you say it out loud? Like, what do you do?
Yeah, or I'll pray about it.
Okay.
I'll pray about it. But yeah, it's like, they're almost like daily affirmations, you know, when you're in like the thick of a training session and you just feel like garbage, like reframing your mindset to, I can, I will,
I must,
you know, yeah, like that. Exactly. Like I can do this. Like, it's way more empowering than just trying to think like, oh, one more minute, you know?
Yeah. No, yeah, 100%. Yeah. The one more minute, I'm thinking about a hard bike ride that I'm going to be doing tomorrow. But it's so interesting. Like to me, this is a little bit off topic, but whenever you do, if I was just to go swim an easy 3,000 to 4,000 yards, it goes by so slower than like a hard 3,000 to 4,000 for whatever reason. Because when you're in the pain, it seems like it would go longer, but I don't know. Like, does that ring true for you? Because I feel like it's almost counterintuitive. But
because when it's hard, you have to focus. And, you know, when you're constantly on the clock, you have to focus on your performance. When it's a little bit easier, your mind can totally wander.
Yeah.
But if you can dial in the focus, you're going to get more out of the workout. But that's why I think time flies. Yeah.
Yeah. Have you ever been so unfocused during a swim that you forgot like which side of the pool you're swimming towards?
Can't say I've done that yet.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's just me. I need to focus more.
Focus, man. Yeah.
So with your future in professional triathlon now, I imagine your focus, you have several different types of goals, and you can share what those are for like things you're shooting towards. But my question is, how do you know when you have reached your full potential?
And you don't. You don't. No way. No way. Because you'll feel like there's
always another.
You know, I mean, peak. even if I won the world championships, like there's always something more. You know, I mean, you could ask Sam or Chelsea, like I'm sure they're not satisfied because we don't know what our full potential is, but it's the challenge of continuing to work on it. And through those challenges, you see them as opportunities to continue to grow because life's not linear, right? Like we're constantly ebbing and flowing and ebbing and flowing.
Hmm. So then how has your definition of success changed since you started even this sport, maybe even professionally?
I think that I started by having success mean that I should win races, right? Because like in the beginning of starting triathlon, I was winning. And now for me, it's more of the day-to-day wins, like seeing small gains or seeing like completions of workouts. Those are the little wins that I then stack for myself as proof to myself that I am continuing to grow, continuing to get better. Those are my wins. That's my success.
Hmm. So what's taking up the most mental bandwidth for you right now in the process, or excuse me, in the pursuit of these goals?
I think it's staying out of my head. I can really get into this analysis paralysis of like the shoulds. You know, we should do this. We must do this in order to succeed. And I think that we can perseverate on those things. And it's about really instead being present and mindful with each discipline and focusing on one thing at a time and really looking for those little wins and being grateful for those things versus trying to write out and control the future. And I think that's really something that's applicable to life too. Like you have to have faith in your journey. Yes, you have to put the work in, but I think you need to have faith in yourself and not have this recipe for what you believe is success, because life will bring you challenges. And it's about how we adapt to those challenges that will define our success.
You feel like you're pretty good at adaptation?
I try to be.
Yeah.
It's a work in progress.
Yeah.
What is a work in progress?
Yeah. What are some of the failures that you have encountered along this journey?
I think it's like getting in my head on how a swim should look or how a bike should look
In terms
in a
of the
race.
structure of the. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Like it's never going to be perfect, but you obviously want it to be. And I think I don't want to call it a failure. It's an opportunity to learn.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we have epic failures. If we see them as that, like we're definitely going down the wrong path. They're opportunities to be better is what they are.
For sure. When you were first getting into the sport, like specific on the bike and in the run and the swim, it's a little more difficult. But like for the biking and running portion, were you pretty glued to like the data of, oh, here's how fast I'm going. Here's how many watts I'm putting out. Here's my pace. Here's my heart rate. Like, were you pretty informed by those numbers, or did you just race to race? And do you do that now still that you're in the professional field?
No, at the time I would say I was pretty glued to kind of like what my like watts should be or what my pace should be, because, and I mean, even now, even though I'm in the pro field, it's a time trial for me. Like I've only had a handful of races where I'm like in the group with the women on the bike. And those, then I can just race my race, which has been really fun. But there are some where I've been like out there by myself, especially when I first started out, because I'd come out of the water from behind. And so then I'd really focus on my numbers, which is a total failure. Like you cannot,
it's just like,
look at that. You're just asking to not have a great race, you know? So I've definitely been better about that as I've continued and gained more experience racing with other women.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So what kind of sacrifices have you had to make now that you are focusing on this full time? Are there any?
I mean, yeah, it's sacrifice. I love being with my family. I love being with my husband. It's sacrifice from like, you know, the time spent with them or maybe family trips or, it, you know, kind of revolves around time and schedule, but Um, None of them I necessarily regret because I'm so passionate about this journey that I'm on.
Yeah. You feel like your family, husband, everyone is very supportive of the dream?
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
And they're all excited to go to Kona this year.
Nice.
They came with me in 2022 when I went, and they're all coming back again. So we're a crew of like, let's see, we're 16. Yeah.
Holy moly. So you already have all
Yeah.
of your stuff booked out, I
We
hope?
got our houses. Oh, yeah.
How much was that? My word.
Like 10 grand
Oh
for
my
the
God.
house.
So
And
crazy.
that's not my in-laws. That's just my family.
That's insane.
Yeah.
But that'll be a
But you
lot.
can't just like go to Hawaii for a weekend.
Yeah,
You
100%.
know, like you gotta go and enjoy it.
Yeah. Is it this? So
Because
this
you
will
don't know
be,
when you're going back.
yeah, for sure. This will be your first professional world's race, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
What do you think it'll mean to you when you cross that finish line?
Oh my gosh, I'll just be grateful to cross the finish line.
Yeah.
It's an absolute privilege to be able to just get to the start line.
Yeah,
So
that
to
big race.
finish is just like incredible.
Yeah.
Absolutely incredible.
Are you an emotional person?
I would say yes.
Yeah. Do you cry at the finish lines?
Kona, I did. Kona, I did. And I don't know if it was because I was in so much pain or because I was so thrilled to have done pretty well
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's always neat for me to, not visualize, but when you cross that finish line, what comes rushing to me is just like all of the past years, really, or months and months of work that like you're doing all these things and making little time sacrifices like you're talking about, and then to be able to cross that
Yeah.
finish line is pretty big deal.
It's epic.
Yeah, good
Have you
deal.
been to Kona?
I have not. No.
When are you going?
Yeah, so that's a good question, and that gets a little bit to something else. So I am Seventh Adventist, so I keep Sabbath, and I've
Mhm.
chosen not to race on Saturdays. So Kona is, unfortunately, unless they split it up for me, off of the
Yeah.
list. What I have struggled with is Nice is on Sunday,
Okay.
and I could have qualified last year. Who is it? I was thinking about maybe doing Placid and trying to qualify and then go to Nice this year, but it's just it would be so short, last minute, and expensive. So
Yeah.
we'll see if they end up moving it around. I hear tones that it's going to be going back to Kona for the foreseeable future, forever, men and women, probably 2 separate days again. So I don't
I
know,
mean, but
but
haven't we been saying this for the past like 3 years?
yeah, we have. I mean, I don't
Yeah.
know.
So who knows?
Who really knows? Yeah, it's a good
Nobody
point.
really knows.
Yeah. But I do want to go back to Wisconsin in Madison. I did the full there 2 years
Yeah.
ago. That was my second ever full, and it kicked my
Isn't it
butt.
amazing?
It is really shocking, that bike course. I did not expect it to
Yes.
be anything like that at all. Wisconsin's such a wild. It's like their mountains go down in the ground versus in like up in the air. It's just so weird because those valleys you go
It's
down
very
through, it's
weird.
like very intense. I was like, this is crazy.
Yeah, it is a very hard bike course, and the run is a total party. Like, were you there when it was nice enough to have
Yeah,
all the college kids out? Okay.
yeah.
See, I just
The year
feel
before
bad
that.
for the people because sometimes, like, it can be 40 degrees and like raining sideways. Like, I
Yeah,
think 2 years ago it was like that. And I feel bad for those people that did Ironman Wisconsin because nobody is out on the run. But the run is such a party because all the Wisconsin college kids come out and they're
yeah,
wild. They're in costumes, they're loud, they're obnoxious. Like,
yeah.
it makes the run so fun.
It is a pretty cool race course, and in the
Yeah.
dirt, and like, yeah, it's got so many different aspects to that run course.
Yeah.
I don't dig that little switchback downhill section though. I was just like, what is this? Behind one of the buildings or whatever. But yeah. Well, Anna, thank you so much for taking the time to let me to dive in to your story and hear what's been going on and what's to come of the future. I'm excited for you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah.
This was so much fun. So
Yeah.
much fun.
We'll have to do it again.
Yes. Thank
All
you.
right. Thanks. Thank you so much to Anne for coming on the pod, letting me dive into her life, hear her story, and all the best to her as she goes into her 2025 professional season. Make sure to watch out for her. I think we have some good things coming down the pike to see from her. If you made it to this point in the podcast, thank you so much. If you want to sign up for our newsletter, I am working how to craft a newsletter that will basically take the highlights from each episode and then send that out. If you guys are interested in that for a bite-sized chunk of what we talk about each week on the podcast 2 times a week, you can check out the link in the show notes below, and that will allow you to sign up, or you can go to stupidquestions.show/newsletter, and that will allow you to sign up. Also, if you want to check out the Precision Fuel and Hydration call that I told you guys about in the middle of the episode, where you can spend 25 or 20 minutes with their team figuring out the best hydration strategies for you specifically, make sure to check that out. Again, that's free, and this is not paid ad, so go check it out. If you do want 15% off any of their products, though, the ones that I do use, you can do that at Seth-PFH and get 15% off. All right, guys, thank you so much, and we will catch you in the next one. Oh, yes, sorry. YouTube, Instagram, wherever you're listening, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, like, comment, subscribe, turn on the notification bell, leave a review, all those things. Thank you so much. See ya.